Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Spideydude Experience. I'm Zach Joyner, your friendly neighborhood host of the program. Before we get started, gotta thank our patrons at patreon.com/Spideydude Network. Patrons such as Allison, Cindy, Ed, Georgia, Greg, Janelle, Jessica, Catherine, Kale, Keegar, Laura, Master Draman, Phoenician, Scott, Vanessa, and Vicky, as well as our VIPs, Scott, Sebastian, Vinkman, and Winnipeg Webhead. Thank you guys for your support over on patreon.com/Spideydude Network. And the show that is going to be exclusive to the Spideydude Radio Network's Patreon page will be Books of X. Here on the Spideydude Radio Network, you've got also our Spideydude Vault series, which is Clone Saga Chronicles, the show that started all of this over on Spidey-Dude.com. Show all about the Spider-Man Clone Saga and the Clone Saga related characters. We've also got Spectacular Radio. Spectacular Radio is the show all about the Spectacular Spider-Man animated series that ran in 2008 and 2009 on Kids WB and Disney XD for seasons 1 and 2. Speaking of seasons 1 and 2, we've got Jack and Javi Trujillo, season 2 of Amazing Spider-Man Classics. They're a father and son duo that covers Spider-Man from the beginning. Of course, then we have the Sabu Sima Era podcast. And last but certainly not least, we have Voices from the Eyrie, a Gargoyles podcast, the show all about gargoyles. And the sister show to this show here on the Spideydude Radio Network's YouTube channel, Make Mine Mayday, the show all about Spider-Girl and her world. Of course, if you are listening to the audio edition of this program, thank you. Give us a 5-star review. Let us know how we're doing via leaving us an email over on our email over on Spideydude Radio Network at gmail.com. I'm Zach Joyner, your friendly neighborhood webmaster and executive producer of this show, and I am joined with Adam, our art apologist himself. Hello, Adam.
Here I am. Hello. How's it going, Zach?
It's going good. It's going good. So
it's good
to take the focus off you, and it's just me and Adam for here for a little bit. We will be having more individuals showing up on the episode. We're going to be covering a couple of issues tonight. If you're looking at the cover here, we're going to be covering issues 23 and 24 of the current 6th volume of Spider-Man. We've already got some comments rolling in. We've got SoFlo saying hello, as well as Vinkman. Vinkman says he's ready to rip and tear into the latest issues of ASM. And we have Andrew. Hello, Andrew. I was just looking before we got started on the episode tonight, and we've gained over 100 subscribers almost since the beginning of the year. So thank you to all that are here. Also, hello, Ryan. If you've not already subscribed to the channel, be sure to do so. Give us a like, share, and subscribe. We'll let you know when we're live on our next shows. Also, check out our shorts if you've not already done so. And if you're coming from the shorts, let us know. So, yeah, so I've also read Mary Jane Black Cat 5. We're going to do a satellites-centric episode, I think, for Patreon next month, since we're running out of a month here in April. So if you are not a part of the Patreon, might want to join the Patreon, patreon.com/Spideydude Network. All right, so I think Friday is the next episode of Voices. I'm not sure. I think Gargoyles came out today. I need to double check. I think it came out today. So if you've not checked out Gargoyles, check out the Gargoyles comic from Dynamite Comics. All right, so we're going to be covering... I probably should talk a little bit about about what's been going on and with news. Should I, while we're waiting on the other two, Adam? You're on mute.
Yeah, might as well.
So there was some footage that was shown at CinemaCon talking about Kraven the Hunter. Are you looking forward to this Kraven the Hunter? Look, I read the description, and from the description, it makes me want to see this. I'm going to see it because, I mean, it's Spider-Man, even though it's not Spider-Man. Are you going to go see it?
I don't really know yet. The description is interesting, but I don't know.
So
I know everyone's all upset because this is looking like it's going to be R and Venom was not. So,
yeah. See, okay. Yes,
but
Venom should have.
Venom's also like they want the kids to go see that. I feel like they probably don't care if the kids see Craven or not.
Well, it also decreases the level of expectation. Let's be real. Um, by basically making it R, you're not. The expectation is you're not going to have as big of an audience to go see it. So, yeah, man, this was a very big. CinemaCon had a lot of stuff going on. You had the, I think the Flash was screened.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was screened today, and so we'll see what happens. But look, this was a very interesting. So from cinemablend.com, apparently Kraven the Hunter shows off his classic suit, a rhino, and the guaranteed R rating. So, quote from them, a huge component of the Sony Pictures Entertainment presentation at CinemaCon 2023 involved the studio's commitment to the Spider-Man and properties associated with his universe. Sony Pictures Animation dedicated a chunk of time to showing those in attendance extended footage from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. We already consider its predecessor, Into the Spider-Verse, one of the best Spider-Man movies ever made. In addition to that tease for the upcoming anime release, Sony showed a sizzle reel from the upcoming cast. Aaron Taylor Johnson in the lead role as one of Spidey's classic baddies, and here's what they saw. As was previously reported, he looks positively ripped in the part of Sergei Krivanov, the Russian immigrant and son of aristocracy who comes in the comics comes to America to hunt Spider-Man. The movie version of Kraven will take creative liberties with his origin story, which is one of the 6 quick things that we have known about the film. But Kraven the Hunter has plenty of action, violent kills, and an R rating, which will be a first for Sony's Marvel label. As part of the footage, they do see Kraven pick up his classic comic book suit that fans are dying to see on screen. But the footage stops short of having Taylor Johnson put the suit on. Some things have to be saved for the movie. But they did at least get to see the introduction of a rhino, and it looked sick. Kraven the Hunter in this film is a hunter. He takes down countless men in vicious fashion, has daddy issues. Don't they all? That's literally a quote. Kraven's on-screen dad is Russell Crowe, so you know that leads to problems. Kraven the Hunter is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of Spider-Man projects that are being produced by Sony, including Dakota Johnson's Madam Web and Venom #3, which recently added Ted Lasso star Juno Temple, and they were reportedly pivotal. There have been announcements on an El Muerto movie and Bullet Train co-star Bad Bunny and other upcoming Marvel movies. And of course, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is expected to transition to the 3rd animated feature film, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. While you wait for more information on the live-action Spider-Man projects, feast your eyes on the latest trailer. And basically, they were wanting you to click the trailer for Across the Spider-Verse. Meantime, we'll have to wait and see how Kraven the Hunter begins to use Spider-Man, if the movie uses Spider-Man at all. As mentioned, the character's gateway into Spider-Man's world was the infamous big game hunter coming to New York City to try to capture Spider-Man, which he considered the greatest prey. There'll be different motivators driving Aaron Taylor Johnson moving forward, no doubt, but they'd like to see Kraven start to cross paths with the already established characters in the spin-off universe, like when Michael Morbius crossed paths with Michael Keaton's Vulture.
Oh my god.
Teasing the construction of some kind of Sinister Six. Stay tuned for more updates. So, as that will drop. So that's from cinemablend.com. I will put the link down in the description below. Oh boy. So, okay, some people are they forgot to mention the Hypno Hustler movie. So look,
I'd rather see that than El Muerto. I feel like I'm hoping that El Muerto just kind of slowly fades away.
Well, unfortunately, because Bad Bunny is doing actual professional wrestling, and actually fairly good at it, considering he was not ever trained. I think it's gonna happen. I guarantee you now that the UFC and WWE are about to merge. Endeavor is going to sit there and reach out to Sony and there will be a premium live event, because they don't call it pay-per-view anymore. Guarantee. El Muerto, it'll be like WWE Backlash presented by El Muerto in theaters in October or whatever. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know how to say your name, by the way. MD Masoon Rana Dewan. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Andrew Halley says, I won't be surprised with how Kraven the Hunter and Deadpool 3 if more and more Marvels become rated R. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. And Avengers Endgame came out. God, has it really been that long? Holy crap. So much has happened since Endgame happened.
Yes. Putting it lightly, yes.
Well, nobody cares about them. I mean, look, Sony is going to sit there and they're going to scrape from every single corner of this barrel.
I shouldn't, though.
Yeah,
speaking they need to. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting. So, also, as released on Marvel's website, the other big news that happened while we were gone was the addition of some Sony-related properties that
oh yes
were put up on Disney Plus, which was a significant win for Marvel fans, as this was a big major announcement that was made. Was it last week? Yeah. I did a short on it, so if you did not watch the short, it happened on 4/20. Was the announcement April 20th? So, so they put all three of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films are all up on Disney Plus. The first Andrew Garfield film, and Venom and Homecoming will come out on May 12th. So 4 of them are up now on Disney Plus. This is all a part. I know people are like, oh, is it? We've talked about this before, but this is a part of the deal that was struck in 2021 between Sony and Disney, where Sony is going to put all of their first run stuff will be on Netflix, and then basically the second run of stuff will be now on Disney Plus. It is a licensing agreement. So Andrew Garfield's first film is already on there. ASM2, I don't know. That's going to be these are dropping very infrequently, and I think they have to let the deals. I think Starz has a deal for the 2 Tom Holland films that they have to let finish or something, and then it goes to Netflix, and then it'll go to, I think. So if I was a betting man, Into the Spider-Verse will be on, I think, in June. I literally think that is going to happen. I think we'll see an announcement next month that it'll be up on Disney Plus. It makes too much sense for it not to be, especially with the new film coming out. So Evia has a question, says, do you think the Kraven the Hunter movie will be good or really bad? We haven't seen a trailer yet, so I don't know. Depends. Yeah, it depends on the script and the directing. I think, it'll be well shot. I mean, say what you will about Morbius. Most of Morbius was well shot. The CGI was a little dodgy, but it was pretty well shot. So it was just a horrific script, and, well, yeah. So, listen, Sony they have to use their IP. They don't have much IP right now other than Ghostbusters and Men in Black, and we saw how well Men in Black went when they tried to reboot it because they took all the charm out of it. Which is really weird because technically Men in Black is a Marvel property or Disney property because Malibu. The IP is actually Disney.
Interesting.
because it was a Malibu comic.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fun fact, but
yeah, many people do not know Men in Black was a comic.
Yeah. I think they did wasn't a comic bench done on the Men in Black comic?
No.
We're also simulcasting on the Comic Bench YouTube channel, so hello everybody from Comic Bench. So look, I'll go watch it. We'll do a review of it, just like we're going to do a review very shortly after the new Miles movie comes out. So anytime there's a Spidey related film, you're going to see a review here on the channel. That's just standard operating procedure at this point.
We barely did Morbius, but we gave our brief thoughts on that.
Do you really think we could have devoted an entire episode? I was impressed that Brad was able to do that, truth be told, because Morbius was bad.
We probably could have done like 40 minutes if I'm being generous.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll definitely have, I think, a lot more to talk about with Across the Spider-Verse, because that'll be a crossover with Make My Mayday because of the Mayday elements too. So, yeah, I mean, we reviewed it; it just wasn't like a big one. So, okay, so
it was like a couple sentences.
Is there any other? In toy news, they did announce the let me get the image up of they announced a new 2-pack on 420 with a Green Goblin.
Oh yeah, that looks really good actually.
Is a 2-pack with Mary Jane and Green Goblin. I'll get the images up as soon as I can find them because they're lost. Come on. Also, they announced a new Joe Fixit, which if you missed out on that Build-A-Figure, they doing a re-release, which is actually pretty good. There it is. All right. So it's going to be part of the Hasbro Pulse line of animated series figures. The first 2-pack is already out. This one is going to be out later on this year, I think, as I save the images. I wasn't expecting to do a news episode, so otherwise I would be far more prepared. But, you know, what are you going to do? All right, downloads. There we go. Now, it's been interesting because here's the Green Goblin. This one looks really good. Looks... They basically, the torso is reuse, but the gloves are not, and they basically, this looks straight up like the 90s show. Same thing with Mary Jane. She looks great. So these are all the figures that are a part of the 2-pack line. Now there are a few figures that were retro carded that have been released. Black Cat, notably. Kingpin is kind of very much looks like the 90s show, but these are specifically designed to be looking like the 90s show. Also, the Venom Hasbro HasCon exclusive. So they've been leaning into this more and more. This is very similar to what they did with X-Men last year, with the X-Men retro, the X-Men VHS releases. These are all 2-packs. So these are a little different than the single packs that we're seeing. So we did get a poster for Across the Spider-Verse, Peter B. Parker and Baby Mayday, which I'm wondering if this movie is a complete success and Baby Mayday Parker is a breakout hit. Do you think Marvel will? No, they're not going to pull the trigger. Tevia, I'm sorry. Listen, I until it happens, I don't see it happening. I'm sorry, guys.
I don't really. The thing is I don't know about him having a kid in the mainline continuity. I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but I feel like I don't know. I think I think that might be a little too much. I feel like if they have an alt continuity book where he has a kid going at some point, like that's cool. I'm just not sure about him actually canon having a kid, because then I'm not sure necessarily if he should canonly have a kid, because then who knows what's going to happen to that kid later on down the line. You know what I mean?
Agreed. Sorry, I was drinking.
It's okay. It's okay.
But do you leave Paul? We'll finally. We'll see. I mean,
I think Paul's time is coming to an end soon, but
Misery Brick does bring up a point. I mean, it's reasonable to ask for Spider-Girl reprints.
Yeah. I think that'll happen. I think that's more plausible.
Do I see a Tom Holland Spider-Man Kraven the Hunter fight in Spider-Man 4? Until we get
yeah.
So there is going to be an entire wave that is rumored to come out later this year to be focused, that are going to be designed specifically pulled from X-Men 92. That was part of the rectangular leaks, that was going to be something that they were going to do. They did a lot of that last year with these VHS releases, but these are going to be specifically yeah. So I did not know about this. Unfortunately, Hasbro made themselves look really bad from Vinkman. Unfortunately, Hasbro made themselves look really bad this week for sending Pinkerton detectives after a customer who mistakenly got a magic card set before the official street date. Oh boy. Yeah, so that's a mess.
I heard something about that briefly. I didn't really read the whole thing, but I skimmed something strange happening with that.
Well, look, I mean, it depends on if it was an accident. But look, Hasbro there's leaks all the time with Hasbro. Let's be real. You look at the rectangular leaks. I mean, almost every one of those leaks. You go watch that video. He leaked the entire roadmap almost for all of this year. I think there's been a few surprises, but for the most part, it has been basically, everything that was announced in that live stream last time. He might have gotten the designs wrong. I think he mentioned it was going to be Spider-Woman, like like the classic Jessica Drew suit and the classic Ben Reilly Spider-Man suit. But I kind of felt like that was going to be beyond whenever that was announced. So I think those pre-orders are coming out in May for the new retro card waves. We'll see. Also, hello to our executive producer, Quilsniv. Get the Spider-Man 2. So my goal is to have purchased a PS5 by that point, and when it comes out, I'll try to get it on release day, or pre-order it on release day, so that way I can do some review. So I will try to stream it on Twitch, and you guys can be a part of that when I did that. So yeah, this was look, I mean, these toy companies are doing a lot of not so good things. So, but that is my plan on the Spider-Man 2 game as soon as I get a hold of it, and then we'll do probably a full-blown review. It'll probably be me and Javi. I don't know who else. I know Javi. I don't know who Javi besides me and Javi are getting it. So I will definitely have a review episode where we'll review it, and it'll be spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers, I may do like a initial thoughts the day of release, maybe as a short or a series of shorts. Yeah, so we're
That's
gonna keep.
That's if you beat it. Depending on how long it takes you to beat.
Oh, listen, I think I played Miles 3 days straight, and but that was by day 2. My eyes were very tired.
Yeah.
But Miles is a much shorter game. This, I think it took me 10 days to beat the first game, and I expect this game to be even bigger, just because.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Crossing fingers for the sensational suit in that game. I would bet 100 out of 100. I think the popular suits from the previous game are going to get brought to this game, so get ready for things like I would be very surprised if the Scarlet Spider suit's not in the game, if all the MCU suits are not in the game. To me, that was part of the fun, was earning all those suits. So black suit's got to be in the game, though. Sensational in black suit and Captain Universe. There's quite a few suits that weren't in the first game.
They'll probably, since Venom is in this one, I imagine there will be, their black suit, and then there will be like a classic DLC black suit for the whatever the DLC missions are.
I also anticipate like the Ramos design black suit.
Oh yeah, that.
There'll be some more recent suits, but there's a few suits that need to Spider Boy. You know what?
I like that design. I think it's pretty good.
Neil says
else, it's a pretty good costume.
He guarantees the No Way Home ending costume is going to be well. I mean, it's the only MCU suit that's not in. I also anticipate, hopefully, they'll have the ASM2 suit.
Yeah,
because that wasn't in the game. The ASM1 suits in the game. I anticipate all the movie suits will be in the game, because Sony has access to all those, and Marvel's going to make that available. It is interesting to me that we have not, because there's no A3. There hasn't been a trailer. They've been playing this very, very close to the vest. It's interesting. There's been a few leaks. There's been, like, the voice actor says that they're still working on it, which slightly concerns me. But I think if we're hearing that, here's what I anticipate. If we don't have a specific Sony level event, San Diego Comic-Con, I think, is going to be a good spot for it.
Oh yeah, because that's like 2 months out. I think there will probably be like maybe a panel, perhaps.
You got to think that there's going to be a Marvel video game panel at San Diego. I mean, it's too perfect. I mean, this San Diego is going to be huge.
Oh yeah,
because you've got almost guarantee the Fantastic Forecast is going to get announced at San Diego at the point. The Loki, the official Loki trailer is going to probably come out, even though we'll see how much Jonathan Majors shows up in it. Yeah, we did talk about the restructuring with Disney, but there's not been any like major updates. They did do their second round of layoffs. So, do you think we'll get upscales of the suits from the first game and the sequel to take advantage of the new software? That feels like, yeah, to me, I think that when they did the remastered, I think that was what they were, doing that. That's part of the reason they did the mastering on that. So, the interesting question is going to be, is it going to be a PS4 and PS5 like Miles, or is it going to be PS5 exclusive?
I think they confirmed it was PS5 exclusive.
So
I think.
So
which is unfortunate because I would get it for PS4, no doubt, but I think it's a PS5 exclusive because PS5 is like, the big dog now.
Well, they're finally the scalpers are finally having to sell them at or below retail price now. So the supply constraints. Damn it, Andrew! You're making me feel old that Infinity War came out 5 years ago. Freaking A, dude. So, boy, let me. Yeah, we're 30 minutes in and we're avoiding talking about these two issues because let's be real. Spoiler alert. There's not much that happens.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
I know that there are some that are going to be. I know Chris is going to jump on, I think, and Paul's jumping on as soon as he can. So as soon as we get the rest of them here, we'll deep dive into these issues. But I'm just, a lot of people are hating on these books, and I'm like, man, the next issue, that's an entirely different story. We've recently updated the cover, which is a really gorgeous cover, by the way. 25 has got a nice cover.
I like that. It's one of the best of this run, probably.
Yeah.
The simplicity is nice.
So here's the thing, Ryan. Here's my hot take. They're not bad.
They're okay.
They're okay. Listen, I've reviewed much worse books than these. Like, not necessarily on this show, but on like my time on Crawl Space, my time on Clone Saga Chronicles. There was much worse issues than these. I think the artwork's really good. I think you can tell when, but these are decompressed as hell, and that's probably my biggest gripe with them, is that they're decompressed. And
I think I know why that is.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Like I say here,
we'll talk about that. And because I know, spoilers. Paul has said that too. But I'm curious because I want to do a little compare and contrast, and it'll help prove my point, I think, as to why they feel particularly so decompressed.
Yeah. Interesting. Also, the Free Comic Book Day next week. We'll have the Comic Book Day issues. So our next episode will be probably covering that and the 25th issue, I think, is probably what I'm going to do.
It's funny because we never did last year's, I don't think. At least I don't.
I actually still have an extra copy from that I got for Javi, and I never got it to it. So, oops. Sorry, Javi.
Damn.
It's literally on my stack over there. I'll need to ship it. But what I'll probably do is if Javi can't get it this year, then I'll I got to figure out how I'm going to get my copy, honestly, because I still don't have a car. Listen, no, it's not just you making me feel old. It's
time.
Well, it's crazy for me to think. I mean, this Labor Day will be the 3rd anniversary of this show.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm feeling very nostalgic because this year is the 25th anniversary of Spideydude.com. So there is I'm working on something for late May, early June that I've talked about what I've wanted to do. And it's one of the things I've talked about wanting to do in the past and just haven't had the time to do it yet. So trying to put everything together. I will also be on an episode of the Vectorverse here on YouTube. I think that will be next month. It's going to be a few weeks from now. He's in the process of editing it. There's a couple people that are before me. So I appreciate that, Vingman. We'll see what happens. If I can get out and about and swing by the comic book store, then you know what they ought to do, though? They ought to. You're putting it on the first weekend of the month, right?
Mm-hmm.
First weekend. What else is coming out the first weekend in May?
Guardians.
Why not put them at? Why not send them to like your theater chains?
They should, yeah.
Like,
it's a great idea, actually.
Like, it would be, you put a freaking display and they're free and they're freebies, and then you take them and come, like, this writes itself. And I understand Free Comic Book Day is for comic shops specifically.
Yeah.
I understand that. But if you're already mass producing these books, why not put them at AMC's, Regal's? You know, mine is mine's a Showbiz Cinema that's down the street from me. So it's not like a big chain, but you know, like that costs money, and the mouse don't want to.
That's true, probably.
Well, especially because, you know, it's funny how Disney is in such cost-cutting mode. See, Tevye, I can't agree with you, man. I'm sorry. We got to agree to disagree on this one. I'm sorry. They're not F Midas. They are. I understand you're mad about the Paul story and the fact that Mary Jane and Peter aren't together. I understand that, but we're not. I mean, next episode, that's gonna be where, you know, that's gonna be the breaking point. If that issue in that storyline is unsatisfactory, I can see retroactively looking at these two issues and saying, yeah, the story itself is hinging on this explanation. If you read Black Cat Mary Jane today, there's a big hint, truth be told, because Black Cat specifically says something and Mary Jane response says something else.
Yes.
Do you want me to spoil it, Adam? As I don't think you've read it.
No. You can later.
Okay. So, to me, talk about a miniseries that poor Jed McKay. Holy crap. I didn't hate that issue, but this is my least favorite set of books written by Jed McKay that he's done on Spider-Man, period. Like, what a letdown of a letdown. So I'll have I'm gonna pull the issues covers up. Man, where is everybody? Question from Tevye. Do you think Mary Jane will die in issue 25 or 26, or will the fallen friend kill off Aunt May, which would be one shot to Captain America instead?
I think fallen friend is just Captain America. I think that has to do with the Cold War thing they're doing right now.
Yeah. So here's the thing. They're doing an awful lot of hype. I don't think Mary Jane dies.
That would be the lazy play, probably.
And
it's kind of obvious.
Yeah, if you're gonna kill her off, it's incredibly telegraphed, and I think that.
But maybe that's the bait and switch. Like,
yeah. Well, supposedly we got 2 more coming. So
hi, Kelly.
Hi, Kelly. So, they said how to pronounce their name earlier. Hang on, let me scroll back up. Make sure I'm saying it right. Mass. All right, we'll just go with Mass. All right, so Mass says, I am like, okay, I've read worse. It's mediocre, but Marvel is like, what if Zeb Wells can't visit cons after this? It's that bad.
Right, yeah. Which,
like,
I was reading someone say that's like marketing, essentially. Could just be like, they're not really being serious about that. Like, they could be serious, but they could also be not as serious, and it's, just kind of a marketing tactic.
Yeah. So
I don't know. The story, I mean, the story is like okay, but it's just kind of a mess. It just doesn't, I don't feel like, I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way with how it's, I guess, rubbing everyone else the wrong way. I don't know if you I don't know if you should be doing this. Like you need to have drama and stakes, but this is something that just doesn't feel like the right way to go about it. I don't know.
No, here's the thing. Pretty much all of the questions by the end of this episode of the books we're covering tonight is answered except for the Mary Jane part.
Yeah.
And this and Neil brings up a great point here.
It's not good.
This right here, allegedly Wells is getting threats IRL, which is way too far over the line. We can't say, what type of threats because YouTube will they'll come after us. But don't if you're a part of the community that decides that that you feel like that's an okay thing, don't. Like, to me, that's entirely over the line. You're making threats over what you're assuming is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Not what's on the page, but what you're assuming is going to happen. That's ridiculous. It's utterly ghastly. Ryan says it's a marketing play. It's called threat marketing, which is not really hate farming, but trying to create a narrative that is just to prep people to know it's going to be bad. And again, this is something that Marvel has done for 25 years.
Yeah.
I mean, since the first reboot, we've gotten this type of shock jock marketing bullshit that nothing will ever be the same again. It is incredibly sad to see people dude, like the Marvel's reaction. We talk about the Marvel's reaction for a second while we're waiting on everybody to come here. I'm about to text everybody. How's everybody at? So the Marvel's trailer drops, right? And then you got the Comicsgate guys that are like, Brie Larson. It's like, bro, like, so yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, there are some blind supporters of Marvel who then attack anyone who criticizes signed Casey Anthony lookalike. Apparently, that's just today. Yeah, that was Kelly. Kelly got that today. That somebody tried to compare her to Casey Anthony. Well, hello, Neil. I thought you were dead.
Stop it! You kept begging. I came.
I don't want to be here, but I am. I agree, Andrew. The Marvel's trailer looks really great. It looks like a gobsmack.
But Zach, how are we going to make our YouTube videos with an overly aggressive thumbnail getting mad about Brie Larson?
Dude, the one that just
we should start doing that.
We should just do it. We should just start copy pasting Zeb Wells onto like our thumbnails and just going. I don't know. Zeb Wells isn't woke. Shitty Zeb Wells run gets woke. Peter is a cock.
I mean,
I did do kind of
a clickbaity title for today's episode.
Yeah, good job.
Hard. So and like
actually go soft on the issues.
We're
soft on the issues here.
On the Marvels, the trailer looks fine. I'm not really like into it, but I don't know. Sure.
I like Brie. Oh, Brie.
I'm assuming Brie.
Yeah. Here's the thing. The
marketing was cringe. The movie was fine.
Yeah,
it was okay. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. not my favorite of the MCU, but I don't really have many MCU favorites, honestly.
Again, like I said on Twitter a while ago, MCU films are between a C+ and an A+ for me. Oh, well,
is that what you have for our ringtone?
That is my Go Power Rangers. So, by the way, 30th anniversary special out on Netflix right now.
How do we feel about the upcoming
Oh, no, go ahead.
Upcoming Flash movie? Okay, listen. Ezra Miller is insane. The movie looks kind of lame. Cool, I guess. That's all I got. That neither one inspires a lot of hope in me. I'm a very cynical man, so you'll forgive me if I don't care a whole lot about either one of these.
I've watched the second trailer for Flash. I'm very yes, I will send it to you, Kelly. I bought it off of Apple, so I don't know. I'll get you the ring. I'll get you the ringtone. You know why I got the ringtone? Fun fact.
I'm afraid to ask.
I got it for my Apple Watch, but then Apple
Right.
doesn't allow chimes on your Apple Watch, which is stupid.
Damn.
So I actually have the chime for Next Generation too. It's one of my text tones. So fun fact.
What'd you think of Picard?
So I only watched. Okay, so I have not watched the full series. I did watch the last episode. I enjoyed it.
I meant like the third season, because we don't talk about the first two seasons. Those don't exist.
I only watched the last episode.
The only one we talk about is the only thing from season 2 that carried over was Laris, and then she kind of just vanished as soon as the
rest of the TNG group. I was happy to see that the crew was back together. I knew that Jonathan Frakes was in for a substantial role because of the fact that his filming actually affected Voices from the Eyrie. Fun fact. They had to jump around to work around his schedule. So it'll be interesting to see what they do if they're going to do that Legacies series. So Radiac. Hello, Radiac. Hi guys, how's it going? How much did you miss? I talked about the news. So talked about Craven, talked about I could break out the scream for this one.
Don't break out the soundboard, Zach. Don't break it out.
What do you mean? You mean this one?
Nope. He gets muted. You did this to yourself.
I can unmute myself, sir.
I think it was too quiet anyway.
Oh, well. Oh, that's...
Well, he's still trying.
That's from Spider-Man 1. Kelly thinks it's hysterical. Yeah, of course you do. How do you feel about Picard season 3 and its final season? Because, look, it's a send off that
it's better than Nemesis.
It's much better.
No, I'm just saying. Compared to the ending we got with Star Trek Nemesis, this is far and away a better send off for the next gen crew.
Yeah. We can't hear the sound.
You looking for Strange New Worlds season 2? I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Again, I have not been watching. I have not been watching much Star Trek lately. So, I figure compared to the swapple and Gwen and MJ had now with interchangeable parts of Spidey's dead girlfriend.
Do we want to talk about the cover? Do we want to talk about the cover for ASM 25 while we're here?
Oh, you want to talk about the J. Scott Campbell
K-pop cover?
The variant. The K-pop variant.
Oh, first of all, thank you. Can you pull it up and put it on the?
Hang on.
You set it up. So okay, it's an anniversary issue of Spider-Man.
We knock him down.
And when you have an anniversary issue of Spider-Man, guess who's going to provide a variant cover without fail, inevitably? And that's J. Scott Campbell, because the man only does covers now, doesn't do interiors. I don't know when the last time it was he did interiors, but he
did a page for Marvel Comics number 1000.
Yeah.
Again,
the Conway written thing about Gwen and Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Trying
to find it. Here we go.
That's got to be good money though, just doing covers. I mean,
oh, dude, he's basically, and he's selling them direct. So basically, he all the profit.
He has no overhead and no profit, and no loss in profit. Hang on, here I found it. This is a cover.
There it is.
Jeez Louise. Okay, so this is apparently inspired by K-pop. Thank you, Kelly, for
I'm gonna be honest. I told Kelly this. I didn't see any of that. Like, I didn't realize it was K-pop until she told me. I just assumed this was the porn cover.
Venkman says right click and save. All right, so
I'm not even right clicking and saving this. It doesn't deserve that.
So for the audio listener, we have Black Cat, Gwen, and Mary Jane. Mary Jane's in the middle. Black Cat's to her left. Gwen is to her right. Gwen is wearing a they're all in mini skirts. Okay. Mary Jane's and Black Cat's are pleated. For some reason, Gwen has one pantyhose leg on. Has a bit of a
sleeve.
Mary Jane has
one sleeve,
a one-sleeved jacket that has a shoulder pad on it.
It's fashion, dude.
Also has because it's J. Scott Campbell and he doesn't understand female anatomy. There is boob socks deluxe.
Does Felicia have glasses? Why does Felicia have glasses on?
Probably she has cat's eye glasses.
Mask.
Oh, yeah, okay.
To emulate the mask, probably.
That's cringe. Just give her the mask. She's hotter in a cat costume.
It's like, dude, can he draw them like not on their tippy toes ever?
J. Scott Campbell drawing women on their flat feet challenge. Impossible.
That was what I said earlier.
Yeah.
The problem is this is so
private thing.
This is like Gwen is in a. It's not even a bar. Like, why is Gwen Stacy in a Barbie dress?
It's a corset, I guess.
It's like a corset thing.
It's fashion. It's art.
Kelly raises a good point. He knows who buys the cover. It's horny 25-year-olds.
Yeah,
too much money on their hands.
Between 25 and 45-year-olds. Let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
25-year-olds are buying the graphic novels, not the floppies.
That's right, dude. 100% certain.
The
fabric is stapled together. That is true.
Yeah, the MJ skirt, it looks like it was like two or three pieces of fabric that is, it's just so odd.
It looks like a Coachella outfit.
It really does. Yeah. Mass says, I think Campbell definitely looked up K-pop on the wrong site.
I think he looked at the wrong abbreviation.
Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, the man clearly didn't understand.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Hey, we've got another person, our spectacular host of the spectacular Sal Buscema era podcast. Hello, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm good. I just kind of rushed into the door.
So
you
welcome
ran
to the
into
show.
it, or
so Kelly says, I'm going to have to pull the costumes these are based on. Yeah, you send it to us and let us know, Kelly. We'll throw it up on the screen. But yeah, these are hi, Walter, by the way. No, it's not the new cover to new.
Stop trying to make Zeb Wells ASM happen. It's not going to happen. I'm being
is that the post that I made yesterday?
No,
what?
This is.
I made the post. Oh, I shared J. Scott Campbell's post yesterday with these girls.
Oh yeah, these.
There's another one coming apparently.
By the way, Neil.
I understood that reference.
Shut up.
So now you, yeah. I don't know. Did it cut out when I played the Great Power, Great Responsibility?
Oh, Kelly,
I think she's making.
You scared Kelly away.
She's making.
Okay, that's the last.
Zach, you fool.
She. I think she was making a joke about like a double entendre.
Zach, did you know who I was talking about? By the way, when I said Shag says hello.
Oh yeah, I know who Shag. I know who the irredeemable Shag is.
Hello, okay, Shag. Yeah.
So Radiac, I'm gonna say it's not Randy or Norman. We know Randy is not going to get married, but he's in the Tombstone arc, or at least he should be, considering the solicits. And Norman is confirmed to be, at least the Gold Goblin is confirmed to be in ASM 28, I believe, is the second Dr. Octopus issue.
I think, yeah. He's in the reflection on the cover.
No, that's the first one. The first one is Peter and Black. The first one is Peter and Felicia, and the second one is Peter and Norman, or Spider-Man and Doc Ock.
That's right.
Does anyone remember that supervillain Spider-Man team up where Norman Osborn and Doc Ock met each other when everyone thought they were dead? This is when Norman was still living in Europe.
Yeah, he gave Doc Ock's girlfriend AIDS or something.
Gross.
You talking about the one that was drawn by
Friends? Yeah, it's Superior team up number 11 and 12, I believe.
Wasn't that the last issue?
Again, why does Peter trust this guy so much?
Well, we kind of
gave him the suit, and he pays him.
So, okay, yes. Why is Black Cat's skirt flank? Is there? Listen, sexy. That's all you. That's the only. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. The one wind current went through the room.
Because it's J. Scott Campbell. That's all he does.
I mean, if you've ever seen his booth at Comic-Con, it is littered with pictures like this, and he makes bank.
Oh, dude, the man. Listen, if the man wasn't making bank, he would have more work doing interiors. He doesn't have to. He can sit there.
He makes 800 variant covers, and he just gets away with it.
Look, think about it. He can sit there and draw 10 covers for the month for whatever like anniversary issues going on at Marvel, because they got something going on, some big relaunch, something, and he can do 10 to 20 covers a month and never has to do any interior work.
Does he color his own interior, his own covers?
I think so.
He's a material boy, and it's a material world.
Walter asks, "Is the villain of this comic for this comic?" This is not even a comic, though, Walter. This is a variant cover. Rock and a bow tie and make back. Yeah. All right. So
no, it has to have the same body shape as MJ.
Well, I mean, every one of his females
has the same body type.
Yeah, I mean. So
it's like Terry Dodson
or Frank Cho.
Yeah, at least
no. Frank Cho has variety.
Yeah, Frank Cho does have. Yeah. Usually, okay. Are his females thicker? Yes.
Good.
Well, all right. Bye, SoFlo.
I mean, it's always with Frank Cho. It's kind of like with Jim Valiant. It's an homage to his wife. Because what they used to look like. So I give them a lot of credit because they seriously. I mean, Randy is based on Frank's wife, and Taro is based on Holly Golightly, Jim Valiant's wife. So, and all the credit in the world to them for doing that. And all the naysayers can go, F themselves.
Taro, I know you like that book, but God, that's such a terrible.
I would totally do a podcast about that book once Sal Buscema is done.
Well, anyway.
The most adult show on the network.
Yeah, well. I know a guy that did a podcast about Tarot Witch the Black Rose, and it was as much of a disaster as you would probably imagine.
Oh.
So, all right, let's get to the actual issues because we're losing people at this point.
Okay, bye. I didn't read them, so
Bye, Neil.
Good. You saved yourself the heartbreak of therapy.
All right, so listen, as I said earlier, I don't hate these issues, so I'm going to do the rundown of these right quick. So let me get my notes open here.
I just want to clear something up for anyone because somebody asked me about this. The opening of Amazing Spider-Man #1 takes place in the middle of this whole story, right? When Peter is ejected and lands in the middle of Pennsylvania and he's screaming at the top of his lungs, it's because he got pushed out by Mary Jane.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This isn't him finding out that Mary Jane had children.
Right. So, all right. So we open the issue shortly after Peter being ejected from the events of the last issue. He basically runs around in his underwear for 3 pages. Talks about how he was in Pennsylvania, couldn't risk stealing a car. Of course, he doesn't know how to steal a car. He's decent in stealing clothes, though. So, Peter says something's not right. He runs to May's house. And
she sees him he sees her in the arms of Norman Osborn. He's like, Aunt May, 2 supervillains. What is your problem?
So Peter asks what May is doing in the apartment. He's been wondering what's going on. And Peter then throws Norman into the hallway of her apartment complex. And basically Aunt May says what's going on. He goes to his apartment, throws a bunch of stuff on, goes to the FF, and he talks about how he can't slow down because he's trying to get back to Mary Jane, and leaves the FF, bumps into Captain America. Captain America and him have a conversation. There's a fight that ensues. And then Norman says he wants to help. Peter shows up at Norman's workshop, says, he needs help me. And that's the end of the issue. We cut to the next issue, which picks up where the last issue left off, where a little bit, not quite where the last issue left off.
It's been like a month or something, or a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks. Basically, it says it's been a year. Peter's at the FF headquarters, and he's stealing something. They're talking about how the defenses don't work because Peter Parker's considered family. They throw up these bars. Johnny blasts them and ends up helping Peter escape. Peter escapes to Jersey, where we see the updated spider armor thing, Mabobber using the spider tracer thing that he brought. So Peter gets thrown to this other multiverse spot. Kamala Khan, because they're in Jersey City, is wondering what Norman Osborn's doing there. There's a brief interaction between Rabin and Peter. Peter shows up, and Mary Jane and Paul are fighting. Paul has been apparently stabbed by Rabin, and Peter attacks Rabin, gets stabbed, falls over. Peter tries to kiss Mary Jane, tells her that a lot's changed and that the kids are scared, And MJ says to Peter, "They're my family," and that's the end of the issue. So that's how the no laughter. That is the end of the issue. This is why I read manga now. Zach sounds dumbfounded by these books. Okay, Adam, what's your grade on these?
I feel somewhat generous. The two are B's, I would say.
B's. Okay. Adam gave it a B. You gave the last issue a B too, so this arc so far has been a pretty B arc for you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say C plus for me. The first issue I felt like was a C. First issue of this arc felt like a B plus, but these both issues felt like C's. They just didn't. They were very painfully impressed. As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, I just did not like them in terms of how the explanation. Peter's desperation feels odd, and his actions are so haphazard. And I get that he's trying to get back to Mary Jane. Yeah, and Mass brings up a good point. None of the conflict in this book is necessary. Peter could have just talked to the FF or Cap. He could have literally told them about what's going on during tie dilation. The heroes literally know Jay personally, but if you lives through Sins Past, this is not again Sins Past or Clone Conspiracy. Certainly far worse than this. See, I don't hate Rabin. I didn't hate the first story with Rabin. Rabin was literally not, again. It makes no sense because we haven't heard the story yet. The story happens next issue. The way this is structured, I don't like. Because
it's kind of, I don't know, the structuring is kind of odd. Maybe if we got this earlier, but I guess
it should not have taken. It should not have taken a freaking year to get this. I'm sorry. Should not. This is not something that warranted thus far waiting a year to get the resolution. Venkman brings up a point. He says he's just going to say it. Zeb Wells made this BS mystery box to justify the status quo he wanted, and 1 year later they had to come up with the actual backstory. This story is what we got. It has been revealed that that's exactly what he did. He mentioned that on a more or less, in a interview, is that they kind of set up the status quo and then they worked their way backwards.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know what they were going to do. I think that explains some of the little bit minor inconsistencies between issue 1 and here. Because again, also the way they write these, they don't write them in order. The nature of which these books are written is that you're writing 3 stories at one time. So you might be finishing work on this story. You've plotted a 3rd story and you're scripting your 2nd story.
Yeah, that was basically some inside baseball from Slot a couple weeks ago. He said that on CBR, I believe.
And on Twitter before he left Twitter. I don't know if he's still on Twitter or not, Mm-hmm. Marvel, that's who wanted it. You guys can, in the comments, I know you guys can sit there and ask, who wants this? Who wants to be a part of this? Why? Ba-da-boom. Radiac says what irks him is the unfounded reasoning for Peter to act the way he did. Really did not care about the MJ thing. Is the real problem, is making Peter unreasonable just to force the story to fit.
It is hard. The unreasonable thing. It's hard to. I guess it's hard to justify, but the thing is, they try to justify it with the whole time weirdness. Is the problem?
Yeah.
Because he thinks he's been gone for a week. He actually somehow is back in time, back where he started. So he's like, oh, well, this is serious. For every moment I waste here, MJ could be, close to death. So I guess it makes sense there, but it also does. It's difficult to. It's difficult.
So
I will say that these issues are very fast paced, and they seem to that mimicking Peter's mindset through these two issues. I think the pacing of the issues does a good job of mimicking that.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Chris, what do you think on this? What's your grade?
So I'm not coming across completely negative. Someone said on Twitter I'm too negative. I mean, John Romita's artwork is amazing, as always, in this issue and the last one.
Agreed.
Like, really good stuff. Top notch, 1,000 times better than whatever he was doing at DC. The story, Zach is correct, has taken way too long to be told. This is like, this isn't like one moment in time where we finally got that story like 6 months after Brand New Day, One More Day. Both these issues, and I said this in chat, this is why people hate modern comics sometimes, or currently hate what Marvel does. Why isn't Peter working with the Fantastic Four? Because that's the way the writer's writing it. Because we have to get him in bed with Norman Osborn, which is exactly what he is. He's in bed with Norman Osborn. Because what? We need to sell Gold Goblin toys? I don't get it. Okay?
Yeah.
That is why. We need to sell a new figure. We got to sell a new Spider-Man frickin' toy. That's why he's got the goofy looking costume with the Goblin Glider, because we got to sell a toy. Even though I haven't seen that toy on shelves yet, by the way, and there's no Gold Goblin toy out there.
I mean, it'll be a year from now. It takes about a year for them to develop it.
Sure. Maybe we'll get the skin in the upcoming Spider game. You know what I mean?
I think so. Yeah.
Gold Goblin something happening in that game. Whenever it comes out.
We'll probably get the Oscorp suit in the new game, if I had to guess. Maybe.
I mean, it's like any other time of day. Do you remember the end of the original volume of Amazing Spider-Man? It was Peter trying to stop the Gathering of Five, and he went to Reed Richards for help for something with Aunt May, and Richards helped him to stop Norman Osborn. And we just feel like we're the complete opposite of that. I mean, Peter's been a member of the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. There is no reason why this shouldn't be written as like Reed and Tony and Hank Pym, or no, sorry, Hank is dead. I'm sorry. Whoever's on the X-Men that's a techno brainiac person comes together to help Peter, because Spider-Man is a hero that deserves the help of his comrades without question. The fight with Captain America is completely unnecessary. Like, that should be a fight he's having with Norman Osborn. I get they're trying to make Norman okay. I mean, they're turning Norman Osborn into Lex Luthor, and that's fine. It works sometimes with Lex Luthor. It's happening currently right now with Lex Luthor and Superman. If you read current issues of Superman, Lex Luthor and Norman Osborn are the exact same person right now. I'm not even kidding, except for one's in jail and one's free.
Well, and look, I mean, Norman, since his return, they've made him Lex Luthor light.
Right, and I'm not even kidding. Read current issues of Superman, which are amazingly well written by Joshua Williamson, and Lex Luthor has handed over LexCorp to Superman to get Superman to do better, be a better hero, be the hero Lex Luthor wants him to be. Obviously, Lex Luthor's got some ulterior motive and plan, and that's fine. In the meantime, Superman has access to all of Lex Luthor's stuff to be the hero, better hero. And it's like, excuse me, it's the same thing with Norman Osborn. He's handing Peter the keys to Oscorp to allow him to do whatever he needs to be the better Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I don't understand though why it is. I am every month waiting for that new issue of Superman, whereas every issue of Spider-Man, I'm just dreading what's going to happen next. And the shit hit the fan with these kids. We all had like some idea of like, oh, maybe they're like a piece of Peter and Mary Jane through some type of mystical, magical, whatever. They're, maybe it's the children they never had from the future, whatever the scenarios we came up with last time are all wrong. They're Mary Jane's kids, and short of them being murdered by somebody, they're here to stay. Or they're revealed to be Rabin's missing arms, a la like the Scarlet Witch and what happened to her kids. If everyone remembers that in West Coast Avengers.
Right.
These kids are here to stay, and that's the end of the story.
I don't think they're here to stay. I'm pulling a Neil here. I'm gonna use some of
You think it's
Neil's
okay.
terminology. I'm gonna
Did
inhale
anyone
the
see Evil
copium.
Dead?
I don't think that I don't know if the kids are hers yet. We still don't know that. The wording is vague. That last page, the wording's vague. We're gonna get the hard answers next issue, which
Here's what I'm hoping happens to these children and Mary Jane's boyfriend. Has anyone seen
inhaling
Evil
the
Dead
copium.
Rise?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, there's a scene in Evil Dead Rise that I seriously hope happens to all these characters.
Oh God.
So okay, that's a little extreme. So I agree with what Vinkman says. Again, the reason for all these rock stupid character, I don't agree with that part. Rock stupid character decisions is because this is what story Marvel wants. So listen.
Oh, you want my grade?
Yes. What's your grade? Yes.
The art is an A. The story, the what has happened, the plot line. I can't comment on the story because the story is not over yet. But the plot line is an absolute F.
Art A. Plot F. Okay. All right. So if you add those two up and average them, it's probably C minus D plus probably. But yeah, no. So got Paul coming on here. He's going to come on here in just a few minutes. So here's the God. You guys are getting freaking so gnarly in the comments right now. Okay. My thoughts are simply this. I mentioned it earlier. It's a C plus for me because they're just not. I don't care. Like, I didn't care about this when it happened. I was annoyed when it happened. You guys, if you've listened to those old episodes at the beginning of this era of Wells, like once this arc is done, we're going to start the new season for Spideydude experience, and this is kind of the jumping off point of that season. My biggest gripe is, like you say, Fantastic Four should have been consulted. Avengers, I mean, if he said to Cap, listen, this is personal, I need this, I'm in a race against time. If he says the same thing to Fantastic Four, they'd have been fine with whatever. Oh, we lost Chris. Chris is back. I'd have been fine with I'd have been fine with the story, but the way the Fantastic Four are being written and they're reacting to Peter, it doesn't make any sense. And so I just feel like that this story could have benefited from a actual editor, because one of the points that you've made, Chris, and that I feel like that everybody has made, that I can tell so far, is this: the plot is driving the characters. The characters are not driving this plot. The plot is what the writer wants, and the characters are all acting in a very reactionary manner. Peter's in a very reactionary mode, and instead of being proactive, it's Peter Parker being reactive, and that's just not the type of Peter Parker I like to read. That's why it gets a C plus. That and the decompression. So, Paul.
Man,
hello.
this is sounding like super dreary over here, man.
It's been the chat has been very negative tonight.
Should I just leave? I mean, I don't know, man. It sounds like everyone sounds like a super bummer right now.
I mean, as long as we don't attack each other for our opinions and only attack those who hurt us, writers and plotters and editors at Marvel, then we're fine. No, I'm kidding. Don't attack them personally. Just leave your opinion and then walk away.
So, hello, Paul. Give us your thoughts. Let us.
How you doing?
Tell us what you think on this.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can still hear you.
You still hear me? All right, okay, cool. I was
Yes.
making sure. So we're on issues 20. Is it 23 and 24, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So, am I giving my grades for each issue, or just for like issue 23?
You can give individual grades.
Okay. To be honest, I think like the arcs have been. Where do I start? I gotta grab my issues here. I just read this the other day, and I'm very thankful because I get to avoid a lot of like garbage online from people, whether they love it or hate it or whatever. And like I said, I'm very thankful that I can avoid a lot of that crap. And I don't know. I feel like I'm always in the middle of how I feel about this stuff for the most part. And I gotta tell you, like, and I said this in our chat group the other day on our text group. The thing is with this series is that it's not, at least for me, like I disagree with what you're saying. Like, you have to have like characters drive the plot, the plot drive the characters. I don't need that. I want a variety, because sometimes you want more character stuff. Sometimes you just want like a cool, fun story. Like or sometimes it's both, right? And so for me, Spider-Man works all ways, and I just want a good story no matter what. And I know everyone's gonna, could say this story sucks, whatever, whatever. I, for the most part, like the overall story that Zeb Wells has been writing for this whole, like, his whole arc. And I've said this, but I'll start with my negative things first. And we've talked about this on the show before, and I've talked about it here. Is the main problem with Zeb Wells for me in his run is that it's just decompressed. Is that like it takes, instead of giving, basically I think issues 23 and 24, they could have been probably, I mean, with a little bit of fidgeting around, you could have made this one comic book. The problem is that, and the problem is that I don't know if maybe they're giving, like, I don't, because JR is working for the plots. It's not like he's driving this whole thing. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't know if it's just like they're trying to like pad things a little bit. It definitely feels like they're doing that, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of meat on the bones of each issue. But when I read these issues like back to back, or 3 comics in a row, and reread them, they read very well, in my opinion. And I do think that the problem is we're getting this month to month or every couple of weeks, which I prefer. I like that personally more. That being said, I just do feel like there's meat in these comics. The problem is that there's just not a ton of meat on it, so it just doesn't really satisfy you completely. It's not bad. You like the meat. It's just not enough on there to fill you up to satisfy me. And it makes me go, why can I get both those chicken legs back to back instead of like waiting 20 minutes each to eat them? It's just,
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. That's the thing with these comic books, is that they're not bad. The art is gorgeous, but when I'm looking at the art, like if I'm looking through the comic where Peter comes back and he's like freaking out, looking for MJ. It's like there's just not a lot, like for instance, when he first wakes up, it's just like a couple captions of like 4 words. And I'm not saying you have to pad things out like just to make it whatever, but there's just not a lot like going on. Like the part, there's just not a lot of like inner monologue. I would love to get in the headspace of these characters more than what I think, what Zeb, and honestly, that's Zeb, but a lot of writers in comics do. And I think Zeb really could benefit from getting into Peter's headspace more and other characters' headspace more. So That's my biggest criticism of the book, and it's a decent criticism. So I don't want to pat it and be like, no, it's this book is great. It's flawless. No, there's legit problems of like decompression, and I don't know. It's not been all the time, but it's definitely been more apparent in this arc to me than other ones. So that's my main problem with these couple issues. Now that being said, I really liked, like, I gotta tell you, we've criticized for a long time, the whole 6-month thing, which I think was a mistake. And to be honest, I almost feel like, for doing spoilers and everything, I almost feel, guys, maybe they should have done this arc from the beginning and have Mary Jane stay there, and then have Pete spend a long time trying to like get Mary Jane back, piss off all his friends. We see that in real time. And then when he comes back, like, then you see this whole thing, and then people can be outraged or whatever, because people can be outraged for any reason, right? So that to me would have been better, because to me the mystery, it was interesting. I actually like what we've gotten a lot. The problem is it was the weight of getting there was obnoxious, and it wasn't worth it. I don't know, but it's not a bad story. It's interesting, and I like this whole idea of like, go ahead.
It sets itself up to fail. And by the point you're making to me is that it set itself up to fail by giving it this arbitrary 6-month rule where we, jump ahead 6 months. Because you're right. If we had gotten this from the beginning and really leaned into the stakes don't feel organic, because we know at the end of this part of the story, Mary Jane and Paul show back up.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Jane and Paul are there and are a part of Peter's life moving forward. So we know that whatever the stakes are, we know that the kids survive, we know MJ survives, and we know Peter and Paul survive.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, I love what's the guy's name? Not what they call him first. They first call him, whatever his name is, the guy with the beard.
Rabin.
Rabin. There's like, I like all this stuff. It's interesting. It's fun. It's different. I like when people can put Spider-Man in different situations, and it makes it work for me. Excuse me. Sinuses are killing me right now. And the thing is that, like, I like the whole that I loved when Spider-Man showed up with Reed Richards, and is like, I'm gonna take this. He goes, he's like, well, you wouldn't let me take it. He's like, well, you didn't ask. He's like, well, can I have it? He's like, no. And then he's like, all right, see, exactly. And he puts web in his eyes. That was hilarious. I loved, like, the fact that I will say this. I love the fact that Peter was willing to sacrifice everything for his Mary Jane. He's sacrificing his friends, his like freaking idol, his mentor, and Captain America. Which, by the way, when he did that at Cap, that was awesome. I'm like, yes, because in my opinion, Spider-Man should be able to take out Cap, no problem.
Well, yeah,
no problem, no problem. But like,
he has superpowers and Captain America doesn't.
Well, no, Cap does. It's Spider-Man just got a lot more going on but whatever, right? I just think if push comes to shove, Peter like holds back a lot, and then when he doesn't hold back, he's pretty damn strong. So
I did not like that whatsoever, especially considering how many times we see Cap and Peter, teaming up, like at the airport to save Dr. Doom from a terrorist bombing, or Maximum Carnage, where Cap is like, "Hey, son, it looks like you could use a hand."
Well, see that makes
and he betrays Iron Man in Civil War to help Captain America.
Right, but dude, that to me, but that shows you. See, this is where I disagree, because this shows you how powerful his love of Mary Jane is. And and I gotta tell you, man, like, if someone came between me and my daughter, like, all bets are off, pretty much with everyone in my life. And you know what? Like, that's the thing. If in your loved one, something gets between that, if it is someone like, even as you respect and love, like Captain America, like, yeah, F off. How it is.
He throws, if you're not reading Dan Slott's current run on Fantastic Four, at the time that the story was taking place, Human Torch had a little bit of a flame problem. He couldn't turn it off
Right.
because of Doctor Doom.
Yeah, and the thing is for me is I liked seeing Spider-Man willing to sacrifice whatever he could to get back to Mary Jane. And I think what adds to me, I do like this whole idea. I like this whole story. I just wish they would have done it at first. Because like you said, Zach, we already know what the payoff is, but I don't believe the payoff either, to be honest. I still don't. We all don't. I mean, we all know, we all know. People think that Paul and Mary Jane are really all this, and it's like, come on, guys, get real. That's all
We
I
still
gotta say.
don't. I mean, we'll find that out next issue, I guess.
Yeah. So we're gonna find it out definitely next issue. Also,
I gotta book it. I was waiting for Paul's review to book it, his rating.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna give both these issues basically, I'd say a B. I'd say B minus. I think B minus is a good solid. Like, I think the decompression, the fact that it's just there's not a lot of meat on these comics, but they're not bad. I just wish I wish they would have cram more into here. I think there's a lot of cool stuff you could do with the fact that with more talking, more fighting with Captain America and Peter, like, you know, of talking about and really expressing Mary Jane's, you know, everything, you know, all that stuff. I just feel like they could have given us a lot better a way of condensing it and make it a lot more impactful and meaty. But at the same time, you know, they got quotas, they got monthly issues and deadlines, and you know, so that's where I think that goes with that. So I'd say a good solid B minus for all these issues. That's not a bad score. I just wish they would be a little bit more meaty, but I still enjoyed them.
All right, Chris, you got to jump off. You want to give everybody a plug for your upcoming episodes of Salvi Cinema?
Yeah, we just ended, we're wrapping up Robbie's prison stint in with his future brother-in-law Tombstone. Very funny to talk about that they're going to become future brother-in-laws, but they went to prison together. And we're about to start the what was that?
Father-in-laws.
Father-in-laws. But brother-in-laws too, right? Wouldn't they become brother-in-laws?
No, it just would be. Robbie will be Janice's father-in-law, and
right. But what will he be to Tombstone?
Nothing.
Robbie won't be anything but, you know, they're related by marriage.
Okay. So anyway, we're wrapping that up, and we're about to start the Cosmic Spider-Man Acts of Vengeance storyline.
Love it. Love it.
So there might be something coming after the episodes are recorded and edited and in the can. A very music themed show to the network, limited series too, because it will eventually run out of content. But Zach and I have been talking about it, and I have a decent partner on for at least the first 3 episodes. So
there you go. So look forward to that. It's going to be over on spidey-dude.com/Salbicema podcast. So check it out.
No, the other thing will be its new show.
Oh yeah. There'll be a new show that's going to be separate. Sorry, it's a separate show.
We'll just call it Web of Music for now.
Web of Music. Yeah,
Wow.
we'll figure.
We got Web of Carnage. We have Web of Carnage starting soon. So
yeah. So working title, work in progress. More to come. So when we have it all firmed up, we'll have graphics and stuff ready to go. We'll talk about it more once we get closer to actually it coming to fruition. So looking forward to it, Chris. I'll let you go, and we'll see you next time here on the show.
Good night. And by the way, just as a quick FYI for a couple people who texted me who were listening, saying, "Dude, you compared Mary Jane and the kids and that guy Paul to what happened at Evil Dead Rise is pretty extreme and hardcore." I'm just going to point out Marvel already did something like that. Let's go back to that West Coast Avengers storyline and talk about Scarlet Witch's kids and the demon that they're from. So I'm not talking about anything extreme that Marvel didn't already do with children. So
yeah. So we'll see what happens. We'll definitely cover it on the next episode. So all right, buddy.
Bye.
Talk to you soon. All right. So, and then they were back to 3. So
That's right.
We've had 4 and 3. Neil came on for a few minutes.
I I want to real quick. I want to touch on the decompression issue, and I want to pick Paul's brain about something
Do it.
quickly. So, Paul, you say that these two issues in particular, and Zach has said this too, are decompressed, and I pretty much agree. I want to know your opinion based on the other stuff you're reading from Marvel month to month. How does it compare?
Well, I think I brought up, I think in our text group about how Dan Slott is the opposite. He crams a lot, which again, I know there's a lot of people who watch the show who hate Dan Slott with the passion, which is fine, whatever. But say what you want about Dan Slott, he gives you your money's worth as far as I'm concerned. He knows how to put a lot into a comic book without, in my opinion, going too overboard. Again, it's in a way to vary this person to person, but I think for the most part, if you look, he at least gives you a lot to do, which a lot of writers did back in the day. I think it's comparable in some ways because I feel that is a problem in modern comics in general, honestly, Adam. I don't think it's just an isolated ASM issue. I think it's, because I look at like Jed McKay's Moon Knight.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that. Like, how does it compare to that?
Oh, it's about, I would say Jed's probably a little bit more. He puts a little more in his comics, but there's some issues where I'll blow through it in like minutes. We're talking like 4 or 5 minutes, and I'm like, wow, I'm done. Now, part of it's a page turner because Jed McKay writes a damn good Moon Knight. His Moon Knight's great, but it does get like a little decompressed, and there's not a lot going on. But I still enjoy it. I still like it, and that's now decompression is it's not new to comics necessarily, but I feel that that's kind of like the go-to right now.
Sure.
And on there, I always go back to the history of comic books back in the day. When you read those old like Silver Age, titles, or the Golden Age titles, excuse me, into the Silver Age, there's like 12 panels on a page, and one of the things that artists said that I thought was really interesting is that they thought that the more panels they put on a page, the more people, more people got out of what they bought. Like they almost felt like they were buying something. Like, oh, there's so much on this, I'm going to buy this. Like I got my money's worth, kind of a thing. And and now listen, comics is an art form. I don't want to say like you need to do this to do that. Like I'm an artist. I'm a creative person myself. Never put people in a box, right? But I definitely feel there needs to be more of a balance with that. And you really, and I think especially when you're doing commercial art, I definitely feel like you need to really consider that a little bit more, opposed to like, let's just do what I want. Which again, I think the artists and the creative people should do what they want for the most part.
Yeah.
But I think you should also try to give people a little bit more. Like I think you could easily give people more by making Peter talk more about his feelings about Mary Jane. I mean, I know he's trying to let the panels speak for themselves, and they do. But that's the whole thing. It's a marriage. No, comics is a marriage of words and pictures. Make those pictures. You don't want to just rehash what's on the picture, but get into his psyche a little bit more. Get into what's freaking him out. Like what maybe talk about Uncle Ben and the fact that you lost Uncle Ben, and you don't want to lose Mary Jane too. And and you've sacrificed so much, for you and Mary Jane to get to this point. You can't lose her now. Like get more into that headspace, but you don't. And that's the problem, I think. And I think and again, we talked about this before, Adam, and I've said like, what happened with being able to go into other people's heads besides the main character, right? Like that's the thing about word balloons that I love so much. It's like thought bubbles. You could go into people's heads and not have to worry. Go ahead, Zach.
I completely agree with what you're saying here. It doesn't feel like it's earned. His actions, it's earned because it's all subtext, and you're not getting into his head and going, I've got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. He's just doing this, and to everybody else, he's just being an ass.
I don't see, and this is where I disagree with you. I don't agree with that necessarily either, because I do feel like it's earned. The difference is that it's just not as meaty as it could be, and I think that's the problem. Is that
probably is the problem, actually. Because I think what he's doing does kind of make sense. I said it earlier. Like when he realizes that the time the passage of time is different in the alternate dimension. It's a race against time, and I feel like the pacing of the issues and everything he does kind of reflects that. But I probably what's rubbing people the wrong way, not only it's because it's with these people that he's going against people that he trusts, and then he turns to his greatest enemy in the end because he's the only one that'll help him because he's burned those bridges, unfortunately. But I think the problem is that, like, if we did have a bit more, then maybe people wouldn't be as upset about it. Or if, Paul, like you said, if this story was actually, if we were getting this from the beginning and we saw the journey of the bridges being burned and we lead up to this moment of the reunification and I don't know. Yeah.
No, exactly. That's exactly it. I think the thing is, I mean, listen, people are gonna have problems with this because Mary Jane and Peter aren't together. Like, people are gonna be upset about that. And listen, that's within their right. They can hate it. That's fine. I'm not saying that. But for people who want to, enjoy comics and just take it as it goes, because I'm gonna tell you right now, Mary Jane and Peter will be back together at some point very soon. At some point,
someday,
I'm sure it's gonna happen. They're gonna get married again. I promise you, it's gonna happen. It's inevitable at this point, in my opinion. I've said it for a long time. Even when one more day happened, I'll never forget. I was like, it's gonna happen. It may be here a long time. It's gonna happen. So anyway, yeah, I think that people just need to realize that I do think there's mistakes in this run, but it's not inherently a terrible story. I mean, to me, I don't think it is. I've read way worse in comics and everything. So, I think the thing is that we like you, Zach, I will say, I think when people want to feel earned, I think you're also trying to say the same thing. Is like you just want more of what they're showing you. They're just not, and it does suck. Like that they should give us more.
People want it to make more sense than it does, because for some people it's not making sense, and it's a give and take kind of. Like, you can figure out ways to make it make sense, like even how it is. I mean, I feel like it makes sense now, and it also doesn't make sense now. Like, I get the whole, like, I feel like you could argue that you could argue either way, that this is the plot driving the characters or the characters driving the plot. It just really depends on your perspective. I know that kind of sounds like wishy-washy, but I feel like you could definitely say this is the characters driving the plot, or at least like the characters acting in character for this plot, if you maybe gave us a little more. But
the problem is it's halfway. It's not.
It is all half. That was, that's what Donovan said on Twitter. Essentially, he was like, "Oh, I see where both sides are coming from."
Exactly. And what McNulty says here in the chat, he says, problem is the story is an extended flashback, and we already know the outcome. The sense of urgency Peter has actually comes across as forced and false, because Peter.
I disagree with that 100%.
Well, because we didn't get this story in the beginning, going back to the point you made earlier, Paul.
There's definitely danger, but I don't know.
Listen, McNulty, with all due respect, as a fellow Washingtonian to another, I disagree. Because listen, here's the deal. I just don't go back to my original point. The way he's acting, how I react. Put in a situation where I got separated from my family, and I was going to do. I would do everything it took to get to where get my family back, and that's what Peter's at. It does not seem forced at all. It 100% seems practical and everything for him to be in that fight or flight mode. And I think people maybe just don't put themselves in that mode, like that idea that Peter is like maybe he's too good for that, like to be above reproach, maybe, if that makes sense. I get it, I respect it, but Peter also, what do we love Peter Parker for? He's one of us. He's an everyman, and we've always said Peter's had a temper, and he shows
off that temper to Norman in issue 23,
exactly. and Cap too. And here's the thing, man. Like,
but Cap, it's more sad. It's more sad with Cap. That's the thing.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think it's almost more. I think it's kind of sad still with Norman a little bit. I gotta tell you, Norman.
Maybe because it's in front of Aunt May with Norman.
Yeah. It, like they've really made me turn on to Norman as this character right now. This characterization of Norman. Like I know it's not gonna last, but I'm kind of into it. But here's the thing. Like there's because Peter is an everyman. Because he's been a superhero for so long, we forget that he is the everyman sometimes, I think. In my opinion, people forget that. And I think that you have to remember that if this was you in that situation and you had your loved one and you're separated and something similar in that, not like that literal thing, but like you got separated in like a war or, like all of a sudden you guys were, you'd be like, I don't care. I'll take the effing bullets. I'm going to get my wife back or my husband back or whatever, right? Or my kid back. You're going to do whatever it takes to get them back. And that's what Peter's doing. He's like, fight or flight. Like, get me here. What do I have to do? Do this later. He's like, I don't care. He's like, Cat, get the hell out of my way. That's all relatable, man. Like, if you've loved someone enough to, like, die for them, like, I can tell you right now, like, I'd die for my wife and my kid without heartbeat. Like, someone came to me and said, like, you have to give up, like, your heart, your organs for your family. I'd take my shirt off and go. There'd be no hesitation. So if put myself in his shoes, fight or flight kicks in, you bet your ass I'm going to be like, get the hell out of my way. I'm going to get my wife back or my girlfriend back or whatever, like it's going to happen. So I struggle understanding and sympathizing with this is out of character for Pete and it seems forced. I just do, because Pete is an everyman. Everyman, for the most part, we're fallible, and when we get pushed up against the wall, we're going to react, and that's what Pete's doing. So that all works for me.
I want to say that, so I brought up the decompression because I had this epiphany when I was watching the comic binge last night, and Paul alluded to this.
My boy.
I was thinking that and you and Paul, you've kind of said this in this show, and I think Zach has basically said it too, like, I think we're all kind of this mindset that these two issues could have just been one issue. And I think that's the problem, is that Zeb is writing 2 issues a month. And, a lot of titles are just 1 issue a month. So he's essentially 1 issue into 2. And yeah, we get some padding. We maybe don't get a lot of meat. We get, a fair amount. But it, like you said, Paul, it's like, oh, not quite filling. Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels like doing 1 issue of work and splitting it in 2, which probably makes sense because he has to have 2 issues out in a month. So it's like, well,
right.
How can I like put some stuff around this main plot half and then some other stuff around this second plot half? And so that's why I wanted to bring up us talking about the decompression and trying to compare with other stuff coming out right now, and if it's like similar, different, etc. Because I think that because he has the extra workload, he's kind of understandably taking, like, this whole story could probably just be like 4 issues if it were once a month, and we might feel a little differently about the pacing and the decompression and all that. So anyway,
but
I wanted to bring that up.
That's a great point, because here's the thing too. I don't feel like every arc he does is decompress. I think it's there. But I definitely think some parts are worse than others. But like, I think when he does, more of like a short.
Yeah, the 3-issue ones have been, I think, probably better than this, because this is like about
exactly.
This is going to be like 6.
Yep, exactly. I feel there is a little bit of like, I need to like stretch it out a little bit. Whereas it's a little easier to do 3 issues because you can cram more. You have to cram more into 3 issues opposed to 6. You see what I'm saying? Like some people, and again, people say, well, that's because the story doesn't warrant it. But here's the problem: when you're doing monthly, comic books, you have to like, it's a freaking conveyor belt, man. And sometimes it's just that this kind of stuff's going to happen to even the best creators that you think are flawless. And how many runs have we read of any kind of comic character creative team that like it's great, but there's going to be like a couple times where it's like, oh, like, yeah, in these 2 years, there was a stretch of like couple, 3, 4, 5 issues that were not the greatest, and you could tell they were kind of not phoning it in, but they were padding things up, or you know what I'm saying? Like, there's gonna be sacrifices because you, as a creative team, you're paid to be creative, but you also have like a very tight deadline. That's what makes mainstream comics so unique, everyone, is that it's not just the fact that like you're writing for these characters been around for almost 100 years now. It's the fact that like you have to keep putting out this material, and you have to like, you can't really stop, and then you have to be like, well, this is good enough, and then and just deal with it. And then you have to deal with a bunch of people on the internet being like, this is the worst thing I ever heard in my life. I'm like, yeah. It's like, it's so, I mean, like, so it's, you just kind of let the laugh at it, because how many things in art deal with stuff like this, right? Like, think about it. Like, how many art forms do this? It's like television, but really in television, you have like a whole bunch of creative people, supporting everything, not just one person. You see what I'm saying? It's not just, usually not on just one person to do it. So my heart goes out to these people a little bit, but I will say there needs to be, I think, I'm not sure if it's editing. I don't really blame Nick Lowe on everything, but
I think it would be, it's fair. I mean, that's the editor's job, is like, I believe is, story, like looking at the story and being like, okay, well, this is good, but maybe like, do something here. I mean, I think.
Well, and that's the thing. And I think and again, you're going to get parts where there's, so I hear my daughter crying. So I just want to make sure she's okay. The thing is, with what you want to do is make sure that the best of your abilities, you're putting your stories in, up front. But if you're not going to, put the time in and put like, if the story doesn't, need it, you should definitely reformat your issues. But the problem is you're trying to have it get to a legacy number, right?
Yeah.
And that's, this is where we're all going to, and this is not just Spider-Man. This is every mainstream comic book's problem. I've read too many comics in my day of mainstream, superhero stuff where this happens. It's not just Spider-Man. It's every single thing. And you know what? There's going to be some good execution of those things. There's going to be some bad execution of those things. And I think right now we're getting more of this kind of it's just okay kind of a thing, to be honest. I don't think it's the greatest story. I don't think it's the worst story by any means. I think, to be honest, guys, this is JRJR, some of his best Marvel art in years.
I haven't talked about that, but there's some really good stuff here.
Yeah, like I gotta tell you, it feels like we're back into like maybe not quite the JMS era, but
Right.
we're close in that era. Like, it's maybe a little bit after that, and I feel like we're getting like some of his best work storytelling wise. I think some of his best work, I think, just capturing characters and just rendering whatever.
Sure.
So I think we're getting good JRJR. I just think that's some of the stuff is just not as tight. And let's be real, Zeb Wells he's a comic writer, but he's kind of all over the place. I would love to see JRJR with someone like a Jed McKay, where it would like Jed is like only writing comics. That's his thing, and they could really gel on each other. So, but either way, I don't think it's been bad. So, I think for me, I think the story will play better when you're reading it all at once. Because to me, the last thing I'll probably say about this, for the most part, is I think this is probably more of a trade and more of a thing for Zeb, and like how this will feel more like more meat on the bone as a whole, opposed to just a monthly, or every couple of issues, every couple of months or whatever, every month. That kind of idea, because I've read these comics a bunch back to back after they come out, and they definitely feel better, because when I blow through them, I'm like, I go to the next one, I'm like, oh, okay, that wasn't as bad. So but I will say that the issues 23 and 24, I read them back to back because I finally picked up my comics. I was like, oh, these actually, I read these like they were interchangeable as far as that goes. This whole arc has been interchangeable, but these two issues in particular, they really bleed together. Like they should have just been one issue, in my opinion. So
100%. This has probably been
the double shipping strikes again. I'm very against it, but they have to. I think they have to keep doing it until they hit 1,000. That's their mindset right now.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the mindset. Okay, so what we're going to cover next episode. I kind of talked about it earlier. We're going to cover the next episode. We're going to talk about the Free Comic Book Day issue because that comes out next week. The following week, I think, is when the new issue of ASM comes out. So we'll have 2 issues to talk about. The Free Comic Book Day issue is going to be previewing the next mega event. So thanks, Mass. Appreciate it for joining us. So if you guys
anytime,
yeah, I mean we've had a really good turnout tonight. It's been about 9-10 people on the stream, which is really good. Better than most. I drove Kelly away with my soundboard, but oh well. But yeah, so we'll be covering those 2 issues. We will talk about the big 25th issue. Obviously, this is the big story. It's going to be an exercised issue, so there's going to be a lot of story to talk about, I think, with issue 25. And so I'm looking forward to it. We got both JRJR and Kari Andrews doing some artwork on the next issue. So I'm looking forward to it. Walter says it needs more soundboard. Well, some people disagree with you. But thanks, everybody. No, we don't need to take. You only say that, Vinkman, because Kelly says that. Anyway, love you, Vinkman. All right, so without further ado, we're gonna get to wrapping up. Any final thoughts, Paul, Adam?
Yeah, well, just really quick, I just want to say I'm sorry, I couldn't get here sooner, family stuff, but I just want to say how much I appreciate like all you guys, like, because here's the thing, Spider-Man fans, as far as I stay away from fandoms,
are lunatics. They're lunatics. Let's just be fair here.
I'll be fair because it's every fandom. Like there's gonna be
it's like Star Wars.
Fandom.
It's like Star Wars
Star
too.
Wars. Yeah, Star Wars. Batman's got them. DC's got Marvel's.
Superman.
No one is safe from lunatics. So
very true.
And that's why I try to find a community of people that are fair. Because here's the thing: not everything can't be unicorns and rainbows. And everything can't be the worst dog shit thing ever. Every time someone writes something or puts out a monthly comic book, it's got to be a balance. And you just got to be fair. And I just want to say I appreciate you guys for bringing like as much unbiased, I think, opinions. Zach, I really appreciate the fact you give me an outlet of that, and you listen. When you go out there, you're not like, well, let me just argue with you because I have to be right because I hate this because I hate Chasm's shit. I hate no, but seriously, like
I hate Chasm,
but I know you, but
we're waiting for the Chasm essays, the video essays.
Listen, but the cool thing is that me and you can talk about it and like fully disagree 100% with each other and have a really cool discussion of like why we both feel that way. And maybe try to get some insights, again, not to convince us. People think when people debate and argue, they're trying to always convince the other person. That's not the point. They're trying to make people understand why you think the way you do. Okay? And people always think of like, it's a dunk on someone or to like, I gotta prove how smart and funny I am. It's like, no, dude. Like when I argue and debate with people, like sometimes people deserve it and I need to beat their ass. Sure, that's fine. But that's not usually my case. Usually what I want to do is I want to like show people how I think so they understand my perspective on other times I come out, because maybe it won't work the first couple times. Maybe they'll start understanding my perspective. It affects them at some point down the line. They go, you know what? Maybe that story isn't that so bad. Like a year later, not like the moment you're arguing with them. No, that's never going to fucking work. So, I mean, my point is this. If you want people to understand your perspectives, don't be a dick. Explain yourself. You don't have to agree. Just be respectful. And like Zach and we can talk. And you can get heated. Adam, you saw us yesterday on the comic binge. Me and Chris were going at it, like, whatever. And like, and afterward, we really
Power Rangers fan. I was sad I was not a part of that stream.
Well, I had no idea you're a huge Power Rangers fan until like the last minute. So that whatever, you'll be back. But the thing is,
dude,
listen, really, I'll wrap this up. I just want to. My final thing I want to say is I appreciate the Spideydude experience so much because it's fair, it's fun, and we really try to give. Yeah, it's fair and balanced, and you just gotta honestly, it's because there's gonna be times where things are gonna be just kind of this is average, and and something's gonna be great, something's gonna be bad, and you just gotta be able to acknowledge those things. And there's gonna be sometimes when I'm gonna think they're like complete dog shit, and they're gonna be think they're the greatest thing ever. So I mean, and there's nothing wrong with either one of those things. But it's about just respecting, understanding, and discussing. And I just not just saying like, it's sometimes you can just not like something, right? And not have to always give it a million reasons for it. But don't just say you hate something and it's complete dog crap and totally dismiss other people's ideas, because people like things for different reasons, and they put themselves in situations of why they like something so much. And that's why I know people are ragging on these issues so much in 23 and 24. And when Chris was saying that, no, this is not, no offense to Chris, but it's like, I want him to know, like, hey man, like I totally relate to Peter. That's why I'm like, I put myself in the Peter shoes. I'm like, oh hell yeah, dude. Like I beat the shit out of everybody. Like get the F out of my way. Like that's the thing. You just gotta be that's his perspective. That's my perspective. So I just really appreciate the fact that we can have these really cool conversations, and we don't have to like hate each other and all have to agree, and we can have good, solid conversation, because it's about learning and I think adapting from each other. And that's what we're here on this earth for. And discussion, debating, arguing can lead to better understanding. And to me, leads to more harmony down the road. Maybe not immediate harmony, but eventual harmony. So check me out, Comic Binge. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter at Herman22, 2 N's, aka P Thug. And I appreciate and love both of y'all.
Adam, final thoughts?
I feel like these issues aren't really that bad. People are, just gearing up for the worst, and I am kind of, sort of, not really, kind of dreading what's about to come, just because of the potential nuclear reaction that might happen. But I don't know. I think it's just comics.
Yeah.
It'll work itself out eventually. And yeah, at Enchilada Legs on Twitter, Spideydude Experience, like and subscribe. Go to the Comic Binge. Have fun.
All right. So we're gonna wrap this episode up. Thanks for watching. If you're watching us live here on YouTube, if you're listening to the audio edition, thank you guys again for listening to the audio edition. You can find us on Twitter at Spideydude Radio. You can find us on Facebook at Spideydude Network. YouTube at youtube.com/Spideydude Radio Network. Also, Spideydude Network on Rumble if you like Rumble. Phone number, if you want to have your voice heard on the program, is 818-925-6631. Before we get out of here, we always got to thank our patrons at patreon.com/Spideydude Network. We got our sensational tier patrons: Allison, Cindy, Ed, Georgia, Greg, Janelle, Jessica, Catherine, Kale, Keegar, Laura Howard, Master Drammond, Phoenician, Scott, Vanessa, and Vicky. Thank you guys for being $5 a month patrons. And then we have our Spideydude VIPs. We got Scott, Sebastian, Vinkman, and Winnipeg Webhead over in the I know he's down in the comments. Of course, check out all of our shows here on the Spidey Radio Network. If you are watching us live on the Comic Binge YouTube channel, you can find Books of X. That's the Patreon first show that talks about the Krakoan era of X-Men. We have our Spideydude Vault series of Clone Saga Chronicles and Spectacular Radio, the show all about Spider-Man and the Clone Saga related characters, and the Spectacular Spider-Man animated series. We got amazing Spider-Man classics over on Spidey-Dude.com. And Chris was already on here, but the Sal Buscema era podcast covering Sal Buscema's run on Spectacular Spider-Man from the beginning. Or from Gene DeWolf all the way to the Clone Saga. And, of course, Voices from the Eyrie, a Gargoyles podcast. Also, check out the next episode of Make My Mayday here on the Spideydude Radio Network. Thanks again for watching. Thanks again for listening. And we'll see you next time.